Every year, you work harder. You negotiate a raise. Your salary goes up. And somehow, you feel poorer. Not dramatically poorer, just tighter. Groceries feel heavier. Rent feels louder. One unexpected expense feels dangerous. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You're not imagining it. And it's not just bad budgeting. Something structural is happening beneath your paycheck. Right now, across the United States and the United Kingdom, wages are higher than they were a few years ago. On paper, many people are earning more than ever before. And yet, surveys keep showing the same pattern. People feel financially squeezed. And that matters because when millions of people feel poorer at the same time, it's not a personal failure. It's a system story. So let's break it down, calmly. First, inflation. Inflation simply means prices rise over time. If something cost $100 a few years ago and now costs $120, that $20 difference is inflation. That sounds manageable, until you realize it doesn't just hit luxury items, it hits rent, food, insurance, healthcare, energy, the boring stuff, the unavoidable stuff. Now imagine you got a 5% raise. Feels good, right? But if the cost of living rose 7% during the same period, you didn't move forward, you moved backward, quietly. This is called purchasing power. Purchasing power is what your money can actually buy, not the number printed on your paycheck, not the headline salary, but the real-world impact. If your income grows slower than prices, your purchasing power shrinks. And shrinking purchasing power feels like getting poorer, even when the salary number is bigger. But that's only the first layer. The second layer is interest rates. Over the past few years, central banks have raised interest rates to fight inflation. Higher rates make borrowing more expensive. Mortgages go up. Credit card interest jumps. Car loans cost more. Business loans tighten. Even if you never think about interest rates, they think about you. Landlords refinance at higher rates. They raise rent. Businesses borrow at higher rates. They raise prices. It flows through the system, so you get hit twice. Once by inflation and again by higher borrowing costs baked into everything. Now here's where it gets more uncomfortable. Governments actually benefit from moderate inflation. That sounds strange, but think about it. Governments carry massive debt. When inflation rises, the real value of that debt slowly erodes. It becomes easier to repay old debt with new, less valuable money. In simple terms, inflation quietly reduces the weight of debt over time. Useful for borrowers, including governments. Meanwhile, savers lose, cash loses value, fixed salaries fall behind, and the middle class, the group that depends most on wages, feels the squeeze first. There's also something psychological happening. Your lifestyle adjusts upward faster than your income feels secure. A slightly better apartment, a newer phone, streaming subscriptions, insurance upgrades. Individually, they seem small. Collectively, they're heavy. Modern economies are very good at encouraging consumption. They're much less good at protecting purchasing power. Public messaging often says the economy is strong, GDP is growing, employment numbers look solid, stock markets are rising, and all of that can be true. But GDP doesn't measure your grocery bill. Stock markets don't pay your rent unless you own them. Employment doesn't guarantee comfort. There's a difference between a strong economy and a comfortable household. That gap? That's where this feeling lives. Now zoom out. If wages consistently lag behind asset prices, like housing and stocks, wealth begins to concentrate. People who own assets benefit from inflation because their assets often rise in value. People who rely mainly on wages fall behind if those wages can't keep up. Over time, that creates a quiet divide. Not dramatic, not overnight, but persistent. You work more, you earn more, but assets rise faster, and suddenly the ladder feels taller. So why does this matter long term? Because if enough people feel poorer despite economic growth, trust starts to erode. People begin to question the system itself. They look for someone to blame: corporations, governments, immigrants, technology. Sometimes the real cause is less dramatic. It's math. Income versus inflation, debt versus purchasing power, assets versus wages. No conspiracy, just incentives and arithmetic. That doesn't make it any less powerful. Here's the quiet irony. You can do everything right: study, work, save, negotiate, and still feel like you're running in place, because you're running on a moving floor. Now the question isn't just whether you're earning more. The real question is this: is your purchasing power growing faster than the system around you? If not, then the feeling isn't in your head. It's structural. And the next question becomes harder. If this trend continues for another decade, what happens to a generation that works more than ever, earns more than ever, and still feels behind? That's not just a personal finance question. That's a system question. If you want more deep dives into money, power, and the forces shaping your financial reality, subscribe to Silent Economics, because understanding the system is the first step, and the system isn't done changing.